From the creator of One Punch Man, we bring you Mob Psycho 100. A story that on the surface level kind of looks like the same exact thing. You got your overpowered main character, you got all the bad guys that they hype up to be incredibly powerful and awesome, and then the overpowered main character doesn't even really struggle and just wipes the floor with them right away. Same story, same gimmick, same shiz, right? No. The answer is no. I could not think of two diametrically different stories, and no one gives Mob Psycho a shot because they think it lives in the shadow of its older brother, One Punch Man. They are both overpowered characters, they are both done right, and they are both done right in completely different ways. With Mob Psycho Season 3 coming to a close right now, and I don't want to spoil anything from the story, I did want to talk about Mob from Mob Psycho 100, a protagonist that's not only done right, not only one of the best protagonists in the history of anime, but an overpowered character done justice. I love to talk about my boy Mob, so that's what I'm gonna do today. But first, let me set the scene. In a world full of crazy monsters and psychic issues, you have psychics, these humans that actually contain psychic powers that can defeat these evil spirits that are terrorizing normies. Our lovely protagonist, Shigeo Kageyama, also known as Mob, I have no idea why, maybe because his head looks like a mop and they couldn't pronounce peas? I don't know, that's my headcanon. This dude is a really powerful psychic. So powerful, in fact, all of these crazy demonic spirits, they don't stand a chance against him. Now, this is a story that goes down the route of what would truly happen in a society where there are all these crazy spiritual phenomenon and crazy demonic spirits floating around everywhere. And I love that. I love when a story has a supernatural concept or element and the actual society changes and morphs around what that supernatural element would be. So you got yourself your exorcists, people wandering around just exorcising demons and stuff for a living. You got your charlatans, your people that make believe they're psychics and exorcists and then just go around making believe they're exorcising ghosts for a living and preying on the weak. And then of course you got your psychics that are like, bro, we are psychics. We are the Ubermensch. We are the ultimate man, the supreme human. We are gonna take over the world. We are racists and stuff, and we are going to show the world how racist we are. So you got many different facets of society. It's a fascinating world, and again, if I'm gonna do a No One Understands Mob Psycho video, I'll get into that maybe a little more. I'm really trying to hone in on the overpowered analysis aspect because this is a story where Mob, our main character, an extremely powerful psychic, actually bumps into all of these groups. And he's stronger than all of them. He's stronger than the cults that are worshiping the monsters. He's stronger than the exorcists, and he's stronger than the exorcist groups that gather together to try to take control of the world. Mob is so powerful, so exceptionally strong that nothing can faze him. And yes, I understand he gets into tough fights later in the series, but this is literally for the first 1.5 seasons that he does not even need a sweat to take on his opponents. And if you look at most overpowered protagonists, the goal of the show is more or less to try to make it a self-insert character as much as possible. You got your overpowered protagonists that make you want to self-insert, you know, the one that's gonna get a harem, the one that's gonna end up really popular, the one that's probably gonna be an edgelord, the one that's gonna have a regular face with regular hair and probably dress in black because he thinks it's cool and edgy and stuff, the guy who's gonna make believe he's a loner but eventually get a harem, you know, all those self-insert type things and vibes. And unless you have a dramatically different set of rules to how you want this main character to run, he's gonna fall into that archetype of self-insert, which I personally dislike vehemently. I am not like any of these self-insert guys. I don't relate to them even a little. Now, let me introduce you to the biggest problem when it comes to writing an overpowered protagonist, the antagonist. A story is only as good as the dramatic force that is directly contradicting the main character. The main character always has hurdles that he needs to overcome. And well, if he's extremely overpowered, then those hurdles aren't really hurdles. It's just different excuses for the main character to flex. This is a very simple generalization of the concept of overpowered protagonists. I'm not lumping everyone into a certain scenario. Like, let's say in Overlord, you have Ainzul Gaon, you know, the Overlord guy. This guy's insanely strong. No one poses a threat to him. He's just so overpowered and broken, it's ridiculous. He's also an overpowered character done right, in my opinion. And I'm gonna do a whole different video on him at some point so I can tell you exactly why. But for the most part, overpowered protagonists that just steamroll every antagonist doesn't exactly make for too interesting of a story. You ready to get your mind blown? You ready to get your face hole expanded? The antagonist of Mob Psycho 100 is not the evil spirit, it's not the psychics, it's not the cults, it's not the Nazis, and it's not even society. Can you believe it? I'm not even blaming this on society. Look how much I've grown. The main antagonist and ultimate antithesis to Mob is our beautiful, precious boy Shigeo Kageyama's self-esteem. I know it kind of sounds crazy to boil it down to such an insane degree, to just say, oh, well, in that case, if he's depressed about himself, well then, okay, if you're gonna say that's the antagonist, then fine, he's not gonna be overpowered. No, and also, yes, exactly. This is a character piece, and no matter how many evil spirits and evil psychics and evil charlatans show up throughout the world, this is a character piece following Mob primarily. Now, there are other characters that obviously get fantastic character development. I think Reagan is one of my top 10 favorite anime characters of all time, and he'll definitely get a video at some point. But you don't have this issue of the overpowered protagonist steamrolling all of his adversaries, because his adversaries aren't per se physical beings that are meant to put up a fight against him. His adversaries is how he views himself. His adversaries are his depression. His adversary is his naivete. He just likes some girl that doesn't like him back. He can't make meaningful relationships with his peers. To be honest, the story starts with him being taken insane advantage of by a charlatan. And now, that charlatan may have become one of my favorite characters of all time, but this is our main character. Someone who's being taken advantage of, body and soul. He eventually learns that. He eventually figures out Reagan is a fake. It breaks him. It hurts him. Reagan was his closest friend and mentor. And again, I'm not going to spoil any actual character developments. That's not what this is about. I told you there would be no spoilers, so I'm not really spoiling anything here. It's the very human issues that he has to overcome that makes him such a powerful protagonist. And I love how, one, the creator of both One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100 loves to tackle with these subversive contexts of what strength is, what overcoming is, and in Mob Psycho's case, what self-worth is. Mob is an incredibly talented person, incredibly strong, decently smart, relatively friendly, a kind soul. Unlike most stories where you have a main character, especially if they're strong, they have a tragic backstory. Like, their parents are brutally murdered, their brother turns out to be some arch enemy, evil dude, this dude was abused by his uncle, I don't know, man. All right, maybe I'm thinking of hentai at this point, but you know what I'm trying to say here, okay? You can't even think of a story where they didn't have some sort of tragic backstory. Mob doesn't. He has a family that literally loves him. He has a brother that looks up to him and is there for him. He doesn't have anything that even remotely looks like tragedy in his life. The tragedy is what goes on in his mind. Because even though someone like Reagan is a charlatan, Reagan's the only one that looks at him for who he truly is and sees his actual worth and value. And at the end of the day, that was the friend that Mob needed most. Mob joins the body improvement club, okay? You got these ripped dudes, these roided out hulks, and Mob, who's this little twig of a dude, and they don't care. They see him as someone that's trying his hardest, and they love him and respect him for it. And that is something so powerful for personal growth. That is overcoming his demons. Mob Psycho 100 is a fantastic anime. It's a story that I love truly, and it's one of my 5 favorite anime of all time. And Mob, the main character, a psychic of incredible renown and incredible abilities, someone so powerful, no one stands a chance against this dude. And not for comedic purposes like in One Punch Man. This world is extremely serious. Yes, it's a comedy, but the world does not have any of the gag humor that One Punch Man likes to throw around, or that so many other stories do. They want you to take this world incredibly seriously, and they want you to take Mob incredibly seriously. They want you to take his struggle incredibly seriously. He is an overpowered character done right, because despite all of his power, all of his incredible abilities, he can't overcome his true arch enemy. He can't defeat his inferiority complex. Mob Psycho 100 is a story about powerful friends, meaningful connections, and actual human beings that start to look at Mob at who he is and start to make him feel like he can understand who he is. A man who starts to gain self-worth and starts to loving himself. He's a character that can start inspiring others around him because of the inspiration that he is, despite all of his power, despite all of his strength, which would normally be the downfall of any serious story. The demons that mob really struggles to beat, the real hurdles that he has to overcome, those are the demons in his own mind. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed. I personally love Mob Psycho 100 so much, and I don't need any excuses to actually talk about it. If you want me to do a No One Understands Reagan specifically, and a No One Understands Mob, definitely let me know in the comments if you want more OP analyses. Also, comment section, tell me other people. That's where I picked this video up from, actually, believe it or not. The next most requested one, believe it or not, from the comment sections I've seen so far was the Phantom Troop from Hunter x Hunter. So who knows? Maybe that one will come up next. Who knows? I don't. You do though. So let me know in the comments what you're interested in. Please subscribe, leave a like, have yourself a most wonderful evening, and remember to stay weird, fam.